been, I think the last time I was here 3 years ago, I was in Ruby. And this is just, I'm just caught up right now. This is one of the best feelings that I've had in my life in a long time. There's nothing like being in a place or being where you know you belong. For only 5 years, I've been working on me. I've been going through getting to this point I'd like to share with you. First of all, I want to thank some very special people in my life. I call them my champions, my heroes, for making this moment even possible and believing in me when I didn't even think I could do it. I want to thank the very first person who even put the idea of network marketing in my mind back in 1998, 1999. Mr. Emmanuel Subri. Talking about the buy home, and of course, being in real estate, they have to show you documentation of all the stuff of their earnings. And I looked at his statement. I went, "Wow, what do you do?" And he proceeded to tell me he was involved in one of those things. You guys know what I'm talking about? And I knew at that moment that I had to hurriedly get him clothes on his house because it was going to be a matter of time before he was going to jail or some other places. Because I just didn't believe in network marketing. It didn't think it would work for me. And so I continued doing real estate. And lo and behold, just a little time after that, another special person came into my life and changed everything. And I didn't know until I met this gentleman and his wife that God has always had his arms wrapped around Elgie Young. I didn't know for what purpose or for what reason until I met Mr. Holton Buggs. But I didn't even want to meet you. Through a mutual friend, he was telling me all about this young man and how much success he had created for people and his wife and how they were going to change the lives of thousands of people around the world. He said, "Elgie, you got to meet him." And I didn't want to meet him because you were involved in one of those things. But God has a way of moving you out the way when you're a little stubborn. And I agreed to meet him, and his wife they've been more than friends. They've been just everything to us, me and my family. He's always been there, they've always been there, he's always told me the truth. And I remember when I went diving, and I asked him if I could just have 5 seconds of your time, because I knew I had lost your time. And this is what I said to him. And there's a lesson in all of this. I called, he allowed me to call him. And I said, "Holton," I just started crying. And I said, "I want to thank you so much for leaving me behind." I said, "I want to thank you for not taking my phone calls, not answering my text messages. I want to thank you for all of those things. Because when you limited the access, and then it went on to be no access, I realized there were some lessons that I had to learn. I realized that I had the choice, I had the power to become who you and Miss Early Buggs knew I could become, but I just wasn't doing it. But I love you guys so much that I had to do it. That I had to change everything about me. I made a decision I was going to lose weight. I've lost almost 50 pounds. I studied. I listened to CDs. My library is so big now, Holton, you'd be proud of me. From 6 to 9 every day, I was working on me. And I kept working on me. And I remember sitting early and Holton some new pictures showing the new me. And he walked back and said, "Wow," because I knew that my purpose was bigger than where I was mentally at that time. And I just needed to go and do what God created me to do. And that was to become a blessing to not thousands of people, but millions around the world. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for loving me and my family. My son is here. Well, my story now, I guess. Man. Before OG, my family and I had done exceptionally well in real estate. Probably half of you guys in here I sold homes to. And we were living an incredible lifestyle. Very incredible lifestyle. My kids never wanted for anything. They had custom homes, businesses, and all of that. And how many people know that things can change? Well, in 2007, things began to change a lot for us. And by 2008, guys, we were completely broke. We lost all of our businesses. We had 3 businesses. We lost our homes. We lost our cars. And we found ourselves living in a U-Haul truck. Anybody ever had to do that before? Now, I was in my late 40s at that time, and I had worked very, very hard in real estate for a very long time. We'd earned millions of dollars doing that. And it was like the twinkle of an eye, and it was all gone. But I remember Mr. Bugs telling me when he first met me about something called residual income. I didn't understand it, I didn't have it, and it kept popping up in my mind while me and my family, we were living in this U-Haul truck. And my son at that time, Elgie Young, was out there somewhere. He was very, very sick. He lost 40 pounds suddenly from a condition that the doctors diagnosed him with. So we were dealing with that, not having any money to provide for any medical support for him. And my wife was on my back big time, guys, because we went from living an incredible lifestyle now to being completely embarrassed and being ridiculed and just being humble like you would not believe, living in a U-Haul truck with no money, nothing. I was too embarrassed to call Holton and Early Bucks. I could have called them, but they did not remember, they would not have remembered me like that, and I just didn't do it. And I know that they would have helped me, but I just couldn't humble myself enough to ask you for that kind of help. So I just didn't do it. And I did what most people do. I prayed. I was raised by my grandmother who had a 4th grade education, and she used to always make me do some things I didn't want to do. But she knew at some point in my life that I would need to call on something greater than myself. I would have to sit there and read the good book with her. She said, you're going to need it one day. I said, but my friends are outside playing, and that's where I want to be. No, you got to do this. And it was all of the teaching and the lessons she had given me that came back later on in my life. When I was at that point in my life where I needed some help, they got me through that moment, and I began to pray. And all of a sudden, the doors just opened. And Mr. Holton Bugs called me on one of my old phones that just had a few minutes on it. He said, you need to get over to my house. Early and I are about to launch the biggest project of our lifetime. We want you to be involved. Come on over. I was too embarrassed to tell him how I was living. He had probably heard some parts of the story. I was too embarrassed to tell him I no longer had the nice fancy cars. And I was too embarrassed to tell him that we were moving in from a U-Haul truck into an empty house that was uninhabitable, had no running water, had mold, it was mold infested, no carpet in there, no AC at all. But I had been praying for something, and he was the only one. You were the only one, Holton, still willing to help me. That's why I stuck out my soul. And I was looking to change. And I'm looking at the door, and I told the neighbor, I know you don't know me, but I need your call. I need it right now. A friend of mine just called me. They're launching the biggest project in their life. I don't have anything, but I dug down in my sofa, and I was looking for change, and I came up with about $10 worth of change. I put that in her car, and I went over to your house. And we were in your house, and you started talking real crazy about coffee. My son was with me. I was listening to you, Holton, out of respect, but I wasn't really there. I was physically there, but mentally, brother, I was gone. But my son was there, he was sick, and then Holton offered us some coffee. My son drank the lattes called 4-in-1 back then, and he was having some different stuff happening in his body, all right, that was making him feel really good, Mr. Chamberlain, about the product. And I remember early, called Holton for something. He stepped away for just a quick moment. I'm sitting there on your sofa, the one I bought from you. That custom sofa. And we're sitting there, you're drawing out the plan, you're talking about what the vision of the company, where it's going to be, and you step away, and I'm sitting there with my son who's sick. And my son looks up and says, Dad, I can tell you're not really interested in what's going on here. He says, I can tell. I didn't know he had been listening. He had on this hoodie, he had his head down. He says, Dad, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why we must do this business. And this is what he said to me. And I don't think I've ever told you the rest of the story, but I'm going to share it with you now. He says, Dad, we've got to do this business. And I said, well, why? He says, Dad, number one, Mr. Shane, you're going to appreciate this. He says, Dad, this product is going to help a lot of people because it's helping me right now. All kind of stuff was messing his body up. Nothing was working. And he drank one cup of his coffee, Shane, his energy went through the roof. He said, Dad, I don't know what's in here, but it's going to help a lot of people because it's helping me right now. Why we got to do this business? I know we lost everything. We don't have our BMWs no more. We don't have our Mercedes no more. We don't have our custom home no more. We don't have no money in the bank no more. But Dad, we don't have any friends anymore. But Dad, I want you to know the second reason why we must do this business is because, Dad, I still believe in you. We've got the people who have never lied to us. They've always told us the truth. They've always been there for us, no matter what. Always. He says, Dad, we don't know anything about this business, but we can win. We can get back on top because we got hosted in early love. My son just laid out. I have never done the business for the money. I need the money, I like money, but I've never done the business for the money, ever. I did it because my son said they would help us. I did it because my son said he still believed in me and loved me, and I needed to see him win. I needed him to see me win, be on top. One more time. You and I had a conversation. We had a conversation. You spoke some words into my life. You spoke some very powerful words. We were walking out of the room. And I want to thank you for that because you have no idea what you've done for me. You have no idea. Just save me a seat because I'm coming for what's mine. No matter what. Posted it early. I love you. I give you everything.